Hi everyone! For my Gov project, I decided to talk about the foreign relations between the United States and Taiwan, including the current and future state of this relationship. To start off, what is Taiwan? Taiwan is a small island to the east of China. After the Kuomintang government, led by Chiang Kai-shek, was defeated by the communist armies under Mao Zedong in 1949, the remnants of the nationalist government fled to Taiwan. This government started off as a dictatorship, but due to resistance from locals, the government has become more democratic over time, with candidates for the Democratic Progressive Party being elected for president, such as Chen Shui-bian and Tsai Ing-wen. However, China still claims Taiwan as its own. They promoted a one-country, two-systems formula, which gives Taiwan autonomy in exchange for reunification. But this proposal was rejected by Taiwan. In 2005, China passed an anti-secession law, which warned Taiwan that China would use non-peaceful means if Taiwan ever tried to secede. The Democratic Progressive Party continues to support Taiwan's eventual independence from China, while the Kuomintang government still promotes close relations with Beijing. Even with the continuous pressure of China to rejoin, Taiwan has been able to develop and prosper due to large economic support from the U.S. under USAID, an independent executive agency that administers civilian aid and developmental assistance, along with the Sino-American Joint Commission on Rural Reconstruction, which both funded agricultural development in the 1950s and 1960s, a period of time known as the Taiwan Miracle. Now, Taiwan has one of the largest tech industries in the world, has a female president, and has one of the best COVID-19 responses, with only 7 deaths out of 23 million people. They are also known for creating the food a lot of you guys might eat, such as boba tea and popcorn chicken. Would it surprise you that Taiwan was able to mitigate the coronavirus, even with it being situated directly next to China and without the support of the World Health Organization? Internationally, Taiwan is not recognized as a country by the UN, World Health Organization, and almost all countries and international organizations. This is due to China's One China policy, which asserts that there is only one Chinese government and that Taiwan is a part of it. Current President Xi Jinping insists that countries can only choose to recognize one or the other. He also stated that Taiwan would face the punishment of history if they ever try to secede from China. Thus, the U.S. supports unofficial relations with Taiwan to maintain stability in the Western Pacific. They are Taiwan's strongest ally, and after President Jimmy Carter broke official ties by shifting official recognition to Beijing in 1979, the U.S. Congress responded with the Taiwan Relations Act, promising to supply Taiwan with defensive weapons and to protect Taiwan during an attack. This also obligates the president to consult with Congress on foreign policy with Taiwan. Congress has continuously written bills with bipartisan support of Taiwan, but all with a policy of deliberate ambiguity, seeking to balance China's power with U.S. support for Taiwan's economic success and democracy. They do this by discouraging a declaration of independence on Taiwan's side, but also discouraging a Chinese invasion of Taiwan. The Taiwan Relations Act of 1979 obligates the United States to sell weapons of a defensive character to Taiwan. The three communiques pledged to end official U.S. and Taiwan relations, pledged to remove U.S. troops from Taiwan, and pledged to gradually end the arms sale to Taiwan, but with the latter of no timeline to do so. The 6 assurances allows the U.S. to keep selling defensive weapons to Taiwan, but pledges that the U.S. will not act as an intermediary between Taiwan and China. As the country's commander-in-chief, the president has much of the say on the U.S.'s current relation with Taiwan. In 1996, U.S. President Bill Clinton sent ships to the Taiwan Strait after China conducted provocative missile tests to influence Taiwan's election. This was the biggest display of U.S. military in Asia since the Vietnam War. But now it seems that we are on the brink of the most unstable period since this time due to President Donald Trump's increasing support for Taiwan. In 2016, President Trump spoke with President Tsai Ing-wen in what was a break with U.S. policy set in 1979 when formal relations were cut. This sparked controversy online as people argued it pushed diplomatic relations with China. As the chief diplomat and commander-in-chief, President Donald Trump has continued to support Taiwan with weapons and with foreign relations, while at the same time waging a trade war against China over the U.S. trade deficit. In 2018, Trump signed the Taiwan Travel Act, which supported the travel of high-level officials to and from Taiwan. He has sent senior officers to Taiwan and has also increased the frequency of U.S. Navy ships in the Taiwan Strait. President Trump has also sold an increased amount of arms to Taiwan. In 2019, the Taipei Act was passed. This act encourages other nations to strengthen its ties with Taiwan in order to de-incentivize remaining countries from switching recognition away from Taiwan. This act also allows the island greater participation in international organizations, as the U.S. government needs to advocate for membership or observer status for Taiwan. President Xi Jinping has said that the U.S. policies directly go against the One China policy. Although it may seem like we are helping Taiwan and ourselves, the more President Trump helps Taiwan because we are against China, we might be putting Taiwan and ourselves in a bad spot. Instead of being an ally to Taiwan, the U.S. is using the country as a pawn in the Trump administration's larger brawl with Beijing. We may say we support Taiwan and democracy, but we must acknowledge the economic and political power of China. With the national security law being passed in Hong Kong, many are fearing that Taiwan might be next. Beijing argues that growing U.S. involvement in the region is compelling it to intensify its activities, while the United States counters that a more involved U.S. presence is a necessary response to China's assertiveness. Since armed conflict would be disastrous for all, it is essential that the U.S. and the rest of the international community do everything they can to deter Beijing from taking unnecessary risks that could quickly spiral out of control. The U.S. can do this by defending Taiwan without showing acts of official recognition, which would anger China. And if China does begin a war with Taiwan, we must decide to what extent we are willing to defend Taiwan, and on a broader scale, what extent we are willing to defend their democracy. Thank you. Do you guys have any questions?